Ah, there we go. Let's start again then. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. My name is Jamie Spencer, and I am the feed technical specialist for the Kansas Department of Agriculture. I appreciate everyone taking time out of your day to focus on this webinar on pet food labeling. The webinar today is being presented by Barbara Jean Schleicher, our KDA label review specialist. Our team thought that this topic would be important to many of our KDA license holders as the label requirements are changing for pet food. We want you to be aware of the changes and the timeline that the changes will be required. These changes directly affect pet food manufacturers, but also may be good information for everyone else. There are a few housekeeping items we would like to touch on before the presentation starts. During the presentation portion of this session, all participant microphones will be muted by the host. So if you have a question during the presentation, please submit your question using the chat button at the bottom of your screen. KDA staff will be monitoring the chat for questions to be asked at the conclusion of the presentation. Lastly, this session is being recorded and will be posted online next week on the KDA website. Now I would like to introduce Barbara Jean Schleicher. She is our label review specialist for the Dairy and Feed Safety Program at Kansas Department of Agriculture. Barbara Jean has worked with the Kansas Department of Agriculture in the Dairy and Feed Safety Division since 2018. In her role as the label review specialist, she is responsible for reviewing pet food labels distributed in Kansas. She has been part of the AFCO Pet Food Committee and work group since 2021. Prior to reviewing pet food labels, she was a feed inspector for KDA. Her regulatory work started with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture in 2014, where she reviewed pet food labels and also held a feed inspector role. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in Animal Science from the University of Minnesota. When not working, Barbara Jean enjoys competing in dog agility and barn hunt and spending time with her husband while they attend the many activities their daughter participates in. Barbara Jean, I will now turn it over to you for your presentation.
Hello, my name is Barbara Jean Schleicher. I am the label review specialist for the Kansas Department of Agriculture Dairy and Feed Safety Program. I review pet food and specialty pet food labels that are submitted for product registration within the state of Kansas. Today, I will be presenting information on the new regulations of pet food labeling modernization. In 2015, the Association of American Feed Control Officials, or also known as AFCO, began the process to update pet food and specialty pet food regulations. The pet food label modernization regulations were accepted by AFCO membership in August of 2023 and became effective as of January 1st, 2024. If you are new to pet food labeling, you might be wondering, what is AFCO? AFCO stands for the Association of American Feed Control Officials. AFCO was created in 1909 and has actively shaped the feed laws and regulations. AFCO is a voluntary membership association of local, state, federal, and international agencies charged by law to regulate the sale and distribution of animal feeds. AFCO does not have any regulatory authority. The association provides a forum for membership and representation from consumers and various industries to achieve three main goals: safeguarding the health of animals and humans, ensuring consumer protection, and providing a level playing field of orderly commerce for the animal feed industry. The AFCO Pet Food Committee is one of the several association's committees focused on a specific area of feed regulation. Committee members routinely work with advisors from trade associations, government agencies, research groups, and consumer groups to accomplish its appointed tasks. The state of Kansas adopts the model bill and model regulations for pet food and specialty pet food under the model bill. The AFCO models serve as primary standard for labeling pet food and specialty pet food in the United States. This is a list of important resources that manufacturers and consumers can use when developing the labeling of pet food or specialty pet food. The AFCO OP, the AFCO Pet Food and Specialty Pet Food Labeling Guide, the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, the Kansas Commercial Feedstuffs Law, and Code of Federal Regulations. Links have been included in the presentation, and these links are where you can purchase the AFCO OP and Labeling Guide. I keep talking about the OP. If you have not used the OP, it is the Association of American Feed Control's Officials, or AFCO, official publication. It contains the model bill and regulations that are implemented by most states. It contains the model regulations for pet food and specialty pet food under the model bill. It contains guidelines for pet food labeling claims. The OP also contains the official ingredient definitions, and the OP contains dog and cat food nutrition profiles and feeding protocols. The Pet Food Labeling Guide was developed to enable control officials, the pet food and specialty pet food industry, and other individuals to better understand and interpret the AFCO model regulations for pet food and specialty pet food. It is to be used in conjunction with the AFCO model bill, AFCO model regulations, and model regulations for pet food and specialty pet food. It is a great tool to better understand the requirements for pet food labeling. Label examples are provided, and a copy of the label review checklist is included in the labeling guide. This presentation was created to share the new PFLM regulations. PFLM was created for consumers. Consumers asked for more transparency and for labels that were easier to understand. It was a desire to more closely align pet food labels with human food labeling to improve understanding, and more useful information is to be found on the labels. What does PFLM mean for manufacturing pet food and specialty pet food in the state of Kansas? The Kansas Department of Agriculture has committed to allowing a 6-year transition period for manufacturers to fully comply with PFLM regulations. During this time, manufacturers can submit both labeling types that contain PFLM compliant labels or labeling with the prior regulations. However, a combination of both model regulations will not be accepted. The state of Kansas will start requiring PFLM compliant labeling July 1st of 2030. On the next few slides, I will cover some of the main definitions that will be discussed throughout this presentation. It is important to understand these terms so that the new labeling regulations will make sense. Throughout the development of PFLM, new definitions and terms were created to help clarify the intended purpose of products. This is to provide clarity to consumers when choosing the correct product for their pets. A label. The term label means a display of written, printed, or graphic material upon or affixed to the container in which the commercial feed is distributed, or on the invoice or delivery slip with which a commercial feed is distributed. Labeling. Labeling means all labels and other written or graphic materials in print or electronic form upon a commercial feed or any of its containers or wrappers or accompanying promoting such commercial feed. A pet is defined as a dog or a cat. A specialty pet is defined as any animal normally maintained in a household, such as, but not limited to, rodents, ornamental birds, ornamental fish, reptiles, amphibians, ferrets, hedgehogs, marsupials, and rabbits not raised for food or fur. A pet food is a commercial feed prepared for consumption by dogs or cats, and a specialty pet food is a commercial feed prepared and distributed for consumption by specialty pets. To distribute means to offer for sale, sell, exchange, or barter commercial feed, or to supply, furnish, or otherwise provide commercial feed to a contract feeder. This also includes online sales. A distributor means any person who distributes. All life stages means gestation, lactation, growth, and adult maintenance life stages for dogs, cats, and other mammals or other adult animals, including breeding animals. A daily food is a specialty pet food product other than a treat, food, mixer, or food supplement for specialty pet species with no recognized nutritional authority. A family is defined by a group of products which are nutritionally adequate for any or all life stages based on their nutritional similarity to a lead product. A familiar household unit is a typical feeding unit in a volume or count, and examples of a familiar household unit is a can, measuring cup, treat, or piece. A food mixer is a pet food product that is intended to top, accompany, or contribute to a complete diet, but is not generally intended to be a complete diet. A food supplement is a pet or specialty pet food product that is intended to supply a specific nutrient. An immediate container is defined as a unit, can, box, tin, bag, or other receptacle or covering in which a pet food is displayed for sale. An ingredient statement is defined as a collective and continuous listing on the label of ingredients of which the pet food or specialty pet food is composed. Pet nutrition facts is a graphic box located on the label containing nutritional information for a pet food product. The principal display panel, and sometimes referred to as the PDP, is part of the label that is most likely to be displayed, presented, shown, or examined under normal and customary conditions of display for retail sale. The Specialty Pet Nutrition Facts box is a graphic box located on the label containing nutritional information for a specialty pet food product. A veterinary diet is a pet or specialty pet food product that is intended to be used under veterinary supervision only. PFLM has created new required information on pet food and specialty pet food labels to help bring clear information to the consumer. The new requirements include a product and brand name that's located on the principal display panel, an intended purpose statement that is also located on the PDP, a quantity statement, pet or specialty pet nutrition facts, an ingredient statement, feeding directions, the name and address of the manufacturer or distributor responsible for the product, and handling and storage instructions may be displayed. Pet food and specialty pet food labels are required to have a product name that is located on the principal display panel. There are requirements for naming products, and in this presentation we will not go in depth of the regulations, but they are found in the AFCO OP in the PF3 section. The 5 basic naming rules include the percentages of ingredients that are listed in the brand name. If an ingredient or ingredients are listed in the product name, they have to follow the regulations. The designation of 100% or similar designation may not be used in the brand name or product name if the product contains more than one ingredient. The 95% rule is when ingredients or a combination of ingredients is composed of 95% of the product's weight without the use of a descriptor word in the product name. The 25% rule is when a combination of ingredients forms part of the name of a pet food or specialty pet food, and there is an acceptable descriptor included with the product name that indicates the presence of other ingredients. The named ingredients must compose 25% of the weight of the product. The 3% rule is when any ingredient appears in the product name or elsewhere on the product label and includes a descriptor such as with or similar designation. The named ingredients must each constitute at least 3% of the product's weight. Flavor designation may be included and be part of the name or elsewhere on the label when the flavor designation must either conform to the name of the ingredient supplying the flavor as listed in the ingredient statement or be identified by the source of the flavor. Another product naming rule incorporates the amount of moisture in the pet food or specialty pet food. The maximum moisture declared on a label should not exceed 78% or the natural moisture content of the ingredients. Unless the principal display panel identifies the product as a stew, gravy, sauce, broth, aspic, juice, or milk replacer, or any other such name. PFLM regulations now require an intended purpose statement. This statement identifies the nutritional purpose of the pet food or specialty pet food. The statement must be verbatim as listed in the regulations. It also identifies the specific animal to which the product is to be fed. The intended purpose statement shall be at the 30% bottom of the PDP. The statement needs to be as large as the net quantity statement. It should appear in the same color and style as a statement of net quantity. The intended purpose statement shall be separated by at least a space equal to the height of the letter N used in the quantity statement. This is a list of the purpose statements. These options should be displayed on the principal display panel and would need to be listed verbatim as they are listed in the regulations. When a purpose statement lists complete food for blank or complete blank food, one of the qualified claims must be used. They should be used or written verbatim as listed in the regulations. Complete food for blank, where the blank must be filled with one of the following options, such as adult blank species, such as adult dog food, or complete food for adult dogs, or complete food for puppies or kittens, complete food for puppies that are less than 70 pounds as an adult, or complete food for dogs, except for puppies greater than 70 pounds as an adult food. The other option, complete blank food, where the blank must be filled with one of the options. Complete adult dog food is an example, or complete kitten food, complete puppy food for puppies less than 70 pounds, or complete dog food except for puppies greater than 70 pounds as an adult. Here are two example labels. Note the purpose statements at the bottom of the PDP. The first one is complete food for puppies, and in very tiny print it says also less than 70 pounds as an adult, and the guinea pig food, complete guinea pig food. This label is an example of a dog treat. Treats have the purpose of providing occasional enjoyment and for training. And you notice at the bottom of the BDP, it says dog treat. Veterinary diet for blank species. You could fill in dog or cat. Veterinary diets for dogs or cats are products intended to be used under veterinary supervision only. Food mixers are products that are intended to accompany, top, or contribute to a complete diet. Examples may include a cat food mixer or a dog food mixer. The purpose statement for a daily food is for food products that are intended to be the daily diet for specialty pets where no recognized nutritional authority exists. This label is an example for hedgehog food. On the bottom of the principal display panel, you can see daily hedgehog food. Food supplements are food products that are intended to supply specific nutrients or other food components, but not a complete diet. This label is an example, has the purpose statement, cat food supplement. We covered a lot of information about the intended purpose statements in a short amount of time. In summary, the intended purpose statement is required. It must be written verbatim as the regulations, correctly formatted, and was developed to make the nutritional purpose of products more understandable to the consumer. A quantity statement is required on pet food labels. It needs to be on the lower 30% of the principal display panel. The quantity statement is listed by weight, such as pounds, ounces, and metrics, or it can be listed in liquid measurements such as quarts, pints, and fluid ounces and metric. It can also be listed as count. This is a label example of what pet food labels currently look like. There's a product name, guaranteed analysis, ingredient statement, feeding directions, manufacturer's information, and a net weight. Pet food labeling currently has a guaranteed analysis that includes crude protein, crude fat, crude fiber, and moisture. With PFLM, Pet Nutrition Facts and Specialty Pet Facts were created. These facts boxes will be required on pet food labels. They set off in a box by the use of hairlines. The facts boxes can be black in color or one color type, printed on other neutral contrasting backgrounds. The text in the box needs to be the same size and style. The facts boxes provides a consistent location for nutritional information on all pet and specialty pet foods. The Pet Nutrition Facts box shall contain a header that is bolded and centered at the top of the facts box. The facts box contains the whole familiar household unit, and in this example, that is 1 cup. The calories per cup is included with the protein, fat, and carbohydrates. The nutrients are listed. In the footnote section, there is a dagger symbol with the calculated value disclaimer about nutrients that are not recognized as essential nutrients by the AAFCO dog or cat food nutrient profiles. At the very bottom is the nutritional adequacy statement. PFLM has incorporated 2 new nutrient guarantees, total carbohydrates and dietary fiber. Dietary fiber is a new analysis replacing crude fiber. Other key changes include voluntary guarantees for dietary starches and sugars. If they are listed in the facts box, they shall be stated as maximum percentages and would appear after fiber. Neither of these nutrients can be guaranteed without the other. Voluntary essential nutrients follows moisture or ash if present. This example shows vitamin A following moisture. Non-essential nutrients such as omega-6 and omega-3 are last, like this example. The old guaranteed analysis has the guaranteed crude fiber. You are probably wondering what the difference is between dietary fiber and crude fiber and why is it changing? Crude fiber only measures certain portions of insoluble fiber. It does not measure what is nutritionally important for the animal. Dietary fiber measures soluble and insoluble fibers, which can be valuable for nutrition and digestion. Consumers understand dietary fiber as it relates to gut health. The decision to require dietary fiber on the label reflects a growing industry consensus. This guarantee will reflect fiber content with its actual impact on animal health. Pet food labels are required to have a nutritional adequacy statement. With PFLM, there is now a required placement at the bottom of the nutrition facts box. Please see this example with the yellow arrow. This is where the statement should be placed. This required for this placement ensures a consistent place on all pet foods for easy visibility. Here's another look at the nutritional adequacy statement. In the pet nutrition facts box, it must appear immediately below the bold line separating the statement from the disclaimers. In addition to pet nutrition facts, specially pet nutrition facts were developed for PFLM. The requirements for specialty pet nutrition facts are similar except for the following. The heading of the box states specialty pet nutrition facts. A calorie statement is not present. A nutritional adequacy statement is now required, but it is different than a pet food statement. Pet food nutrition facts boxes are also on food supplements. Food supplements are not a complete diet, but are intended to be a source of nutrients. Guarantees on food supplements should be displayed on a per feeding unit. Examples of feeding units include tablets, capsules, granules, or liquid amounts. For example, this picture of this pet nutrition facts box has one soft gel as the household unit. So far we have discussed pet nutrition facts, specialty pet nutrition facts, nutrition facts for supplements, and now we are covering pet nutrition facts for small packages. There are special allowances for small packages with a total printable area of more than 12 square inches and less than equal to 40 square inches. The text should be smaller than 1/16 of an inch. All information is required but can be on the label in a linear format with all black or one color type text. The text needs to be in the same size and style. This slide is an example of a small package. Notice the linear format and the text is all the same color, style, and size. However, the header, Pet Nutrition Facts, is bolded. If you have products that are considered very small packages with a total printable area of less than or equal to 12 square inches, there are additional allowances. The linear format is still allowed and some abbreviations are allowed. Nutrition facts must be bolded and the text must not be smaller than 1/16 of an inch. Please review the regulation in the AFCO OP at PF5 for required information on very small packaging. In review, the Nutrition Facts box was created to align with human food nutrition box formatting. The facts boxes provide a consistent placement of nutritional information. The transparency these boxes provide help consumers make good choices about the pet food and specialty pet food products they purchase. Pet and specialty pet food labels are required to have an ingredient statement. Each ingredient in the formula needs to be listed in the ingredient statement. The ingredients need to be listed in the same size, style, and color print. The ingredients listed in the ingredient statement need to be listed in descending order by their predominance by weight. Ingredients are listed and identified by the name established in the AFCO official common or usual names and definitions of feed ingredients, except for ingredients where no AFCO ingredient name exists. They can then be identified by the common or usual name. This is an example of an ingredient statement list with ingredients that are listed by their common or usual name. Blueberries are not a defined ingredient, but are considered common and usual and allowed in pet food. Sources for ingredient information include the AFCO official publication, animal foods listed in the Code of Federal Regulations, and the AFCO Common Food Index. Vitamin and mineral premixes are allowed to be declared if they are in order of predominance by the name vitamins or minerals, as appropriate. They are followed by a parenthetical listing of all the vitamins and or minerals in the premix. Pet food label modernization has defined the ingredient fish. When the ingredients, such as fish meal, fish byproducts, and fish are listed in the ingredient statement, It must be descriptive of its kind or acceptable market name or common name established by the FDA seafood list. If sugar is listed in the ingredient statement, it refers to sucrose. Sucrose is obtained from sugarcane or sugar beets. Descriptor terms are not allowed in the ingredient statement. However, organic is acceptable if the ingredient meets the USDA organic labeling regulations. Ingredients can be listed such as organic rice or rice with an asterisk. When an ingredient has an asterisk, there needs to be a disclaimer below the ingredient statement to indicate the ingredient is organically produced. In summary, PFLM brought a few changes to ingredient statements. These changes were made to provide more clarity of ingredient statements to consumers, clarified vitamins to provide consumers with more recognizable names, trade terms for fish, sugar, and organic were clarified. These practices have already been implemented but are now included in the regulations. Pet foods and specialty pet foods will have feeding directions that are consistent with the intended purpose listed on the principal display panel. Dog or cat food, including treats and food mixers labeled as complete and balanced for any or all life stages, as provided in the AFCO-OP regulations, shall list feeding directions on the product label. Feeding directions shall, at a minimum, include the amount of familiar household unit of product per weight of dog or cat. The frequency of the feeding shall also be specified. Specialty pet food, including treats and mixers labeled as complete and balanced for any life stage or a daily food, will need feeding directions on the product label. Food supplements shall list feeding directions on the label. The minimum requirement for a food supplement is to list the quantity of feeding unit per weight of animal. The frequency of feeding should also be listed. Veterinary diets can use the statement, "Use only as directed by your veterinarian," instead of feeding directions. This is a basic example of feeding directions. This label has a minimum requirement for a complete and balanced dog food. It lists the weight of the dog and the household unit of product to be fed per day. This is an example of a feeding direction that is found on a food supplement. It's very basic. It just states feed 1 tablet per day to your cat. This is an example of a veterinary product, and in place of normal feeding directions, the label can say use only as directed by your veterinarian. Pet food and specialty pet foods are required to include the street address, city, and state and zip code of the manufacturer or distributor on the label. But if the information is widely published, the street address can be omitted. This slide includes the available handling and storage instruction graphics. Handling and storage instructions are not required on pet food labeling. If handling and storage instructions are listed on the label, there will need to be a bolded header. And if a graphic is used, one of the AFCO graphics must be used. The graphics are available on the AFCO website. PFLM has also created requirements for raw milk that is being distributed for pet food. On the label, the statement warning, not for human consumption, this product has not been pasteurized and may contain harmful bacteria, must be placed in a conspicuous area for consumers to see. If the pet food or specialty pet food contains raw milk as an ingredient, the statement raw blank milk must appear conspicuously on the PDP. The blank must be filled with the species of raw milk that is in the product. So for example, if raw goat milk is added to a pet food, the statement contains raw goat milk should be displayed on the PDP. I know that this was a large amount of information in a very small amount of time. This presentation was intended to provide a brief understanding of the pet food modernization that is happening to the labeling. The beneficial changes associated with PFLM will place fiscal, staffing, and time demands on industry and will affect every pet food product distributed in the United States. Planning and timing is crucial for successful implementation of PFLM, and as more training tools and resources are created, they will become available on the AFCO website. And at this time, we'll be taking any questions. And thank you so much for attending, and please feel free to reach out with any additional questions.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara Jean. I've been looking at the chat and I don't see any questions in there. We'll wait a minute or two to see if anyone has a question. In the meantime, I know that's a lot of information to digest, and so we are going to provide this presentation on our website, which is in the chat, and it's been the address has been corrected that I put in. Okay, we do have some questions. Okay, so question, does chicken feed marketed towards people who keep chickens as pets considered a commercial feed or a specialty pet food? Barbara Jean, do you want to take that?
Yep, I can answer that.
Okay.
Chicken feed is considered a commercial feed and not a pet or specialty pet food. So these regulations for a chicken feed would not apply.
Yeah. Yeah, poultry would be considered a livestock feed. Okay, the deadline for implementation, can you tell us what that was again? I believe
Yep,
it,
it will be
go
July
ahead.
1st of the year 2030.
Yeah. Okay, here's another question. We provide treats, bones, and etc. Will we still need to list all nutrients?
Yes, if the treats and bones are labeled as a pet food and not a chew, they would still need the facts box and all the nutrients listed. Unless it's a bone and you have no guarantees of nutrients and it's just a basic chew, then you would be exempt from those regulations.
Yeah. So a chew like rawhide or a bone that's not been further processed or have added things to it would be could be considered a chew, and therefore the main purpose of that ingredient or that uh, product is for chewing, for whatever, cleaning teeth, etc. So if it's just a bone, then bone would, I mean, it's really exempt from the Kansas feed law unless you've stuffed the bone with something, and then all the ingredients would need to be added. Okay. This is a good question too. Could you please expand on no combinations allowed with regard to implementation of PFLM? I've heard it two ways, not using some original labeling requirements in combination with PFLM labeling requirements, and cannot have labels in the market that have migrated to the PFLM requirement while still having labels in the old format. Um, okay, we'll stop there.
So it's a lot of question.
Yeah,
I so right now the state of Kansas is accepting the old regs with like the old guaranteed analysis, and then we're accepting labels with the new PFLM regulations. What I would accept an old label with a guaranteed analysis with a new purpose statement saying cat food mixer on the label and still having a guaranteed analysis. I would accept that, but I wouldn't accept a pet nutrition facts box with the old guaranteed analysis information. So, like crude fat, fiber, protein, moisture in the facts box, I would not accept. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then
Go ahead. Let me
go ahead,
clarify
Jamie.
that just a little bit. So no combination means that basically you can't have both the old and the new on the same label. If you have if you've registered a product with an old label and you've developed the new label, then we would accept the new label as well as the old label, but there's no combination on the same label. And then the other part of that statement's more, or questions more of a statement, but the presentation said that the print size should be less than 1/16th, and it should be no less than 1/16th of an inch.
And I just looked that up, so I apologize. It should not be smaller than 1/16th of an
Yeah,
inch.
yeah.
So
All right. What about treats for chickens?
treats for chickens, that would be exempt because they're a commercial feed, they're a livestock feed. They're not defined as a pet or a specialty pet.
Right. It would still be considered a livestock feed.
Yep.
Okay, do we have to specify puppy versus dog?
I think it depends on the label for if it's a treat that, like a dog treat, you could just say dog treat. You don't have to specify that it's for puppies or an adult dog. For your intended purpose statement on your food, as long as it matches the adequacy statement in the facts box, that's acceptable. So you don't necessarily have to specify puppy if it's a complete food for all dogs. So the answer is no. I guess it's whatever is best for your product that you're marketing.
Okay, next question. Do supplements with sprinkle on food as the administration directions count as a topper?
I would have to see the label in its entirety, but if it is like that's a good question. If it's a supplement providing like a specific nutrient, but it's intended to be, sprinkled on the food, that might be a mixer. So I guess the answer is it depends on the product and its intended purpose.
Okay, thank you. Next question. In the pet food nutrition facts under AFCO statement, can you still say complete and balanced, or does the statement need to be verbatim?
The statement needs to be per verbatim, depending on the adequacy statement that you're using.
Okay, next question. If another state considers chicken treats as pet food, will it be a problem with your state if we follow these labeling guidelines?
Mm, I don't know.
I want to,
Jamie.
yeah, it's going to be fine. We would not register that product. It would be considered a livestock food. And so the pet food labeling modernization requirements would not affect chicken food in our state. But if it used that label, it's still an adequate label, and we wouldn't reject it because it had the nutrition facts box and the other information. So. Are all states going with this format?
I would say most states have adopted this format or will be adopting the format, but most states are allowing this grace period until 2030 before they start requiring it. So I would say yes. For the
Yeah.
states that are reviewing labels, registering products, they will be using this format.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to say not all states um, are reviewing labels. Not all states register products. So it's still a little bit state to state, but for the most part, yes, I think most of the states that I know of will be adopting this model. Okay, next question. So if we have the old facts, is there a way to convert crude protein, or do we have to resend the product back in for new analysis?
Well, I'm not an expert on this dietary fiber, but I'm thinking that you do have to submit for the crude fiber guarantee. I'm sorry, the dietary fiber guarantee. And at this time, our lab is not yet testing for that. So we're gonna have to do some research on that and finding labs that do that testing. And that's why there's this grace period of 6 years to give everybody a chance to figure that part out.
Yeah, we're going to be, pretty lenient with this process getting through. And so if our inspectors take a sample of a pet food that is, or specialty pet food that has dietary fiber, um, we're either not going to check it because our lab can't do that right now, or we will send it to a lab who has um, successfully um, have the ability to test for dietary fiber. Okay, I see no more questions. Very good questions. Thank you, everyone, for submitting those. And if you think of new questions, certainly you can email us at the address that is listed in the chat, but it's kdafeed@ks.gov. And again, this presentation will be available probably as early as next week on our website, www.agriculture.ks.gov. I'd like to thank everyone for your time this morning and hope that you have a wonderful day. I hope this has been beneficial to you, and we look forward to continuing as we progress with this pet food label modernization. Thank you.